Hi everyone, my name is Grace and welcome to this podcast of Gracie, the Kenyan Diaspora and Returnee. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, we're so glad that you've joined us. This podcast is a forum for discussing everything diaspora and life as a returnee. Today, I am joined by a former diaspora and current returnee. Her name is Anne Gaither. And I'm glad to have her because today we'll be talking about investments outside of real estate. Hi, Anne.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Thank you for joining me.
Welcome.
All right. So, Anne, I'd like us to just go straight into it.
Yes.
You are a former diaspora.
Yes.
And I'd like our audience to just hear your diaspora story. When did you go abroad? To what country? How long were you there? And what was it like?
Okay. Wow, that was a long time ago, right?
Yeah.
So, as you said, my name is Anne Wambui, born and raised here in Nairobi, Kenya. And when I was 18, I got the chance to go to Los Angeles in California.
All right.
Dream come true.
Yay,
Can you imagine?
California.
California
Yes.
dreaming. I mean, all the books that I read about Hollywood,
Yes.
all the movies.
Mm-hmm.
Then I was really into hip hop, so I love Tupac. So
Yes.
West Side,
Yes.
So it was really great. So
Mm-hmm.
at 18, left Kenya,
Yeah.
went to the US
Okay.
to study.
Yes.
Yes, and so my journey there, went to college, went to a college called Santa Monica, then graduated from there, then went to do my bachelor's degree in California State University in Long Beach.
Wow.
You know, where we hear famous people go to school.
Yes.
Cameron Diaz, Steven Spielberg, you know, that whole Hollywood crowd.
Yeah.
So it was a really great experience. I lived in Los Angeles for 14 years.
Oh, wow, yes.
And then I went to San Francisco to do my MBA
the Bay
in finance in the Bay Area, so up north.
Yes.
So in totality, I was in the US for 15 years.
Oh, all right.
Went when I was 18 and came back.
In your 30s.
Older,
yes.
In my 30s, just ready. Ready to come home. It was a dream that I always knew that I needed to come home based on what I was hoping to achieve in my lifetime.
Yes.
But let me just say it was an amazing experience going there. So I always advise people, if you get the chance to travel the world, do it. I did it when I was younger.
Yes.
And now I'm older, wiser, but back home.
Yeah. So what did you like about it? Other than being in California, which is a beautiful state.
Yes.
And I imagine being near the Hollywood, you know, the celeb lifestyle is different. It encourages a different way of living, let's say, than people who live in the mountainside.
Yes.
So what did you like the most about being there?
I think what I loved about America, the culture of you can do it, you can make it. You know, the American dream.
Yes.
It's actually something that I keep trying to tell people in Africa. We should have the African vision. Like, we know that if you work hard, that you can achieve.
Yes.
I think for me was that idea that things are not limited. There's abundance, there's opportunity. You can be who you're called to be. There was no restrictions. As long as you work hard and do the right thing, then things will happen. And so for me, being in that environment of being able to make choices that benefit you, live your best life, was, I believe, what I really loved about America. But on the other hand, I also realized it's not perfect.
Right, it's not. And
it's not
nowhere
a perfect experience.
Yes.
But you know, when you're young, you're just, like I said, you watch too many movies, read too many books. I love books.
Yes.
And music, it was always showing the beautiful side of America.
Yes.
And that's what I actually learned.
Right.
Americans are good branders. They brand America as the land of milk and honey, and it's perfect. But then reality is different.
Yes.
But I learned that wasn't the truth there. It was imperfectly perfect, if I may say so, right? So there's all this thing of actually always trying to be better.
Yes.
So I think that was my experience in America, being young, understanding that things are not perfect, but you work towards getting things better.
Yes.
And that is something that I wish the world could take on, which is to say that give opportunities to everyone who wants to take up those opportunities.
Yes.
And I hope, and that's my sort of my plan or vision of what I'm working towards in Africa, to say the young people of Africa have the ability to be who they want to be here on the continent. We don't have to travel outside. Apart from getting that experience, we can live the best life here on the continent. So that's what I love.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. And I really like what you say, because it is true there. For example, when you go and you want to be, just in sports, you can do sports and different kinds of sports. And your parents even start understanding it when you're young. So they won't push you into academics. Here back in the day, I remember it's be a doctor, a lawyer, like the options. And if school wasn't for you, you were made to believe that you won't be successful. So I like there that truly the American dream isn't just about home ownership, but it's whatever you want to do, just believe it and go for it. Yes. And there's also something you've said that is so interesting, because for us, born in the 80s and earlier, we went to America because we believed as soon as we land, the money will start trickling in. Wait till you start going to school. That school fees, rent, adulting is different. And we don't talk about it enough when people are going to the diaspora. We don't. So you are busy looking for school fees and paying your expenses, and people back home, your siblings and family, are already asking you for money.
I know.
And it can be tough, because now you're conflicted. And you've left them maybe sometimes in a tougher place. So you want to help them, but you're also struggling.
I think that's the experience of most people in the US, especially those who went younger and specifically for education. I did. So I left home at 18 specifically to go study. So of course my priority is to go and get my degree. My priority wasn't to go and make money. So I think the diaspora is different. If your priority was to go and make money, then initially you land there, you should of course be working and maybe sending money back home. Starting to save, invest, and everything. But if you are going there to actually get an education, that should be your priority. And I actually realized that was the difference between me and a lot of the people my age who had to make that decision. Do you stay in school? And suffer? Or do you actually go and start working and live your education? I chose the route of education. And the reason I did that, growing up, learning that education is what takes you to the next level. And because I knew I was always going to come back home, I thought then,
you should stay in
I
school.
can make the money later. Let me get the education first. And that was my 18-year-old self. I probably didn't know any better, but that was the decision that I made. But for me, I chose to stay in school. And because I chose to stay in school, and because also of making sure that I did things right, when I went there, you're in school, lucky for me, I got to work at the school. Then we had this work-study programs, and I was the assistant to the dean of the school. Her name was Brenda Simmons, a lovely lady who took me up in her arm, under her belt, and I was working in the administration side of the school. Now I look back, it was a great experience because I got to learn how the education system works. Because I'm the assistant, I know what's going on with the dean. But back then, to tell you the truth, I didn't really like it, right?
No,
my friends.
And you're not paid as much as your friends who are working outside school.
Yes, but that's not my point here. My point here was most of us, because we were under student visas, right?
God,
I remember even because I'd gone there. My older sister was there, and we had friends. A lot of them used to work in the bookstore, in the cafeteria, and they all used to work together, and they used to have so much fun. And I'm in the office.
Now I do remember the stuff that the students that used to work. It's true, you're focused, you're in an office environment. I'm in an office environment,
and I have to be prim and proper. And my friends and sisters are all having the time of their lives because they are in a different, they're working, but they're in a different environment. So I never really appreciated the job at that time. And I'm like, I wish I was at the bookstore. I wish I was on campus doing fun things.
Yeah.
But later on, I realized it was important I was in that particular job because what I learned made me ensure that I graduated on time.
Oh, yes, yes.
I learned the education system in the US, which made sure that I made the right decisions until I graduated. A lot of those people who went to school at the same time as me left and prioritized in other things, and then some of them graduated later, but and some didn't. But what I'm just saying is at that time I didn't know why I was put in that particular position, but I realized if I wasn't there, I wouldn't have actually gotten that experience to work in a work environment, to understand management, leadership, school system. So it was a good experience in hindsight. But when I was living it, I'm like,
you didn't
you're not paying
understand
me
it.
enough. I'm not having fun.
You know, when I held this interview, a different episode with Solomon Wambui of Goshen Acquisitions, we actually talked about those things. We talked about the decision to stay in school and not stay in school, and then also how what you go through back then was preparing you for today, and when you're in it you don't understand it, but later on you can look back and say, you know what, it prepared me for today, and for that I'm grateful. And one of the things I like about this podcast is everyone's story is different. Some have very great stories, some don't have great stories, but it's different, and you just learn to understand that that's how life is. And so you appreciate it for that. So but I'm glad you enjoyed it. I still can't believe you were in California. I think if I went to California that young, I probably would not have turned out the way I did. That would have been too much freedom for me.
That's what people say. But then I think it's also been on the right mentality. So what I learned very young is to balance, right? Then of course you're in Los Angeles, you want to have a good time with young, and I loved to do that. But in the morning school, you know how in high school you're backbencher? No. I'm at the front. Right? So it's about prioritizing, know what it is that you need to do. But yes, it's and life is about choices, right?
It's true.
What it is. True. So I think if you're intentional and have the right mentality, then you make the right decision. But it wasn't all glamour.
Right. I'm sure, because you didn't have the money of the celebrities, the way we see them on TV.
So you are walking on the Dare Drive, right? You're not driving. You're walking on the Dare Drive and you're window shopping. You're not shopping, right? So it became very clear that, oh my God, yes, I'm living this life. I mean, there was a time even I had an apartment whereby when I opened my door, I'm seeing the Hollywood sign. Like, that was what it was. But understanding that at that particular time, at 18, 19, 20, I didn't have the cash to live the lifestyle that I had, which I think gave me the motivation to then say, you know what, I need to work really hard to get to that point where I make that money.
Makes sense. What year did you return home?
I came back in 2012.
Okay. Wow, it's been a while. 10 years now.
It's been 10 years back.
Tell us about that. What has it been like after 15 years in the US, coming back home?
Oh my God.
And also, why did you return, if you don't mind sharing?
Wow. So 15 years in the US. Coming back home, I thought, coming home. This is home, right?
I will slide right in and fit in.
Being a very intentional person, I kept abreast of everything that was going on, and I just thought I'd come back and fit right in, right? Because
it's home.
It's home, right? Oh, shock on me. Question you asked, why? Very interesting is that I always knew I was going to come back home. My family, all my siblings were there, and slowly we started moving. But I knew, and I have a sister back there, but for me, I knew I'm coming home, and I knew I was coming back in 2012. And I always used to tell people, and they're like, "I'm not doing it," but I did. Just because of the way I am. I'm a planner, and I knew. And one of the things that moved me was I was very passionate about wealth creation for everybody and Africa economic development. I never understood why there was poverty in Africa. It just baffles me. Even till today, I keep asking, how is that even possible to be poor on this continent which has this abundance of resources? I was like there's something wrong here. Something's wrong. So I wanted to fix it. I'm a fixer, so I wanted to fix it. And being in the States, studying, working there at the banks and all these different places, I thought I had the formula. So I was coming home to find the formula. Yes, find my tribe of people who thought like me, who really wanted to make a change in the world, starting with Africa. And so I came back with, all that energy, going like, this is it. We are doing this transformation. Is happening on the continent. And just say 10 years later.
Yes, things on the ground are different.
Things on the ground are different. And I'm still hopeful, but I just know that it's not going to happen when I want it to happen. It will happen eventually. At the appointed time. But let's just say it's a journey. It's a journey for all of us, and for all of us as Africans, especially starting with the mindset. So for me, coming back, it's been a challenge, especially just back to the culture, which wasn't the culture that I left. When I left, it was all about family and love. It was about honesty and integrity. It was about hard work. It was about, that's how I grew up. And I would say maybe it's because I was young and sheltered. So that was my experience. And maybe other people's reality was different. But what I left is not what I came back to. And so that took time for me to adjust and learn and go like, oh my, and now finally understand the reality of being back in Kenya, how things are done. I always tell people you have to learn the system, know the system, get knowledge, and then know how to navigate life.
That's it.
So I think 10 years later, much better than in 2012, and still learning, growing, because culture is dynamic. But it's not been an easy ride, but I love being back home. I have my moments. But
you love being back home. You know, it's so interesting you say that, because I went to the US in 2003. I returned in 2018. So I was also gone for 15 years. And during that time, I used to come home. But somehow, when you move back home, it is so different. This summer bunny life does not really prepare us for moving back, because we're back for just 2 weeks and it's all fun and glamorous. And you come back, and I call it reverse culture shock. Because sometimes I'll even be talking with my family, I'm like, you Kenyans, and I'm like, I'm also a Kenyan, but why are they so different?
I stopped saying that. I used to be like, it's like, Kenyans are, I'm like, wait, you're home.
You're home. You are one of those people.
You have to assimilate it.
You do. And you know, one of the things I enjoyed learning about you, and one of the reasons why I even invited you to the podcast, we have some similar values. I know that you like the idea of empowering women, and it's something you actually do, so we'll talk about that. And then your eagerness to see Africa show who Africa is, with the abundance of resources, natural resources, talent, and everything. When I was in the US, I had the privilege of being able to travel. And a lot of times I traveled to other continents. I never visited African countries until I moved back home. There's also that thing when you're on that side, you're like, if I'm going to go on vacation, I'm going to hit Southeast Asia, I'm going to hit the Caribbean, other continents other than here. But since I've been back, I have visited several countries, and Africa is amazing. It is so beautiful.
It
is. And we are Kenyans, and we do that too. So I do have a question for you, is as we talk about investments back home, and I know that Kenyans, we love a shamba. We like that attachment to the soil. But there's a question here, even as you tell us now what you studied and what you're doing here. I would also like to understand, how can African diaspora, or maybe how can Kenyan diaspora invest back home effectively so that we continue this thing? Because I'm sure it's not just us who want to invest back home. It's not just us who want to see Africa become this, this big continent, this superpower that it has potential to be.
Yes.
So what would you tell us about that? And maybe start off with your background academically and what you've even done on the investment space.
Wow. Yeah. Those are many questions.
There are many. We will break them down.
Okay. Maybe just to start with what you just asked me right now. So my background actually is in banking.
All right. Yes.
I used to work for Bank of America in the US, and actually that experience and what I learned when in the financial world, you see the great opportunity that is on the African continent, right? Which again nudged me to come back home to take advantage of that because I'm African. We are African. We need to know this. So what I did is I studied finance, real estate, and law.
Ooh, girl, what?
And then I minored in international business because I always knew I was going to be part of the global economy and position Africa there. That was always the dream. Finance, I love math, I love numbers. Real estate. My blood.
Right. We gotta do it.
You know, I always wanted to study law. The only thing is I didn't go to law school there, but that's what I studied, business law and then international business. And then went into banking, and then after being there for 8 years, went to do my MBA in San Francisco, where I studied, where my focus really was on finance and strategy. So I'm a numbers girl.
It can be so, I can see that.
Yeah, I like looking at the statements, making sense of the numbers, because I always tell people numbers tell a story.
Yes.
And that is why my focus continuously is in the investment side. So I balance two worlds. I mean, international trade and investments, and I'll tell you more about that. Really making sure that we are creating wealth on the African continent for us as Africans. And I always say Africans in the diaspora. I'm very passionate about diaspora engagement and what I call Friends of Africa. It has come a time where we will not, let me say this, where we need people to invest in the African continent who are not exploiting us as Africans.
Wow, that
so
is
we need
big.
Friends of Africa, because we cannot do it alone. There's so much work to be done. There's so many opportunities. So I always say all hands on deck. So for me, it's us on the continent, Africans in the diaspora, and friends of Africa. Of that. And we talked about our passion about African women. It was my experience on the continent, in the US, and still back on the continent. When you look at the person who does the most work around the world, is the African woman. And she does not get the value and respect that she deserves.
That is so true.
Right?
That is so true.
You're in the States. You understand. You're working out that corporate ladder. You're making money, but there's that glass ceiling. And especially if you're an African, and especially an African woman.
Yes. Pause right there, because I have to give context to our audience that don't know this. If you had to put, in terms of, do I call it hierarchy or rank? There's the white person, and it's the white man, and then the white woman, and then there's the black person. Actually, and in there, there's, the brown people, you could call them that. And so you're there. And then there's now the African woman, who even falls below, as we know, below men. So I always say, even for me, in banking, I was an African woman with an accent in a foreign land.
I'm telling you.
Like, just all that. Now understand what Anne is talking about. Yes.
So
go ahead.
You putting in the work, you know what it is. But at the end of it all, you're not a white man.
No, you're not. Yes.
But I believe that people respect people who they see value of things. And I think time has come, this season, where people are going to notice the African woman. Like if the Africa is rising. And an African woman is your mother, is your sister, is your daughter, is your wife. And having the right person by your side, if you're a man, will help you get to where you want to go. Right? So I think this is the time for African women to rise up. And just as African, the continent is rising up, and also the African woman. So for me, it's about empowering her. Because if you don't empower her, then she does not know the capability that she has to do great things.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So I know a lot of people talk about the boy child, right? And I feel it for the boy child.
Right.
But I also say I'm not a man.
Right.
Right?
Yes. I can only
give
speak
that
for
challenge
me.
to
The
men,
yes.
to mentor.
Yes.
And raise up these
the boy child.
Boys,
yeah.
right?
Yes.
To be great men.
Yes.
But for me, who's had that journey of being a woman and experiencing what it is, then I feel it is my responsibility to empower and open doors for other women.
It's true.
So that is why that is my journey. Not saying the other work shouldn't be done.
Yes.
I just think everybody, you can't do it all. Yeah. So you choose your path.
Yeah.
So for me, it's empowering the African woman. In fact, a lot of the work that I do in the continent here, whether it is in trade, we're saying the women agenda has to be put up front. When we're talking about investing, how do we empower the African woman to invest wisely?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And also in leadership, how does the woman rise up? Because I always tell people in leadership, especially on boards, whether it's in public sector or private sector, you need to be able to have diversity on those boards. Yes. So that you be able to make the right decisions. So I'm very intentional about that. Just to say one of the things that I do, because I'm in Kenya, I'm part of the Kenya Private Sector Alliance. I'm on the Gender Sector Board, and I'm the Vice Chair of the Board Diversity subsector.
Nice.
So my goal and what we do as KEPSA is to say, private sector, if you're a listed company, if you're a private company, you need more women on those boards. If you are in government, we need more women on those boards because they think differently, they add value, and we all want to work towards the same goal, which is prosperity for all. So you can't say you want prosperity for all families, communities, and nations, and then you leave out the woman. That doesn't even make sense.
Work.
And especially the young woman. So I'm big on women and the youth. So the young woman, who again is also left out because she's young, she's a woman, she's African. So those are the people that I really want to work with to ensure this goes in. So everything that I do, the work that I've done, the work that I do on my company, Recall Africa, is all geared towards promoting more trade on the continent and more investments
on the continent.
And making sure the African woman is center. She's not being left behind.
I like that because, even data has shown that when women are involved, when a household has women that are successful or knowledgeable, wealth creation is better there. To be honest, even where you empower, youthful women or the ladies that are young, what you realize is when they learn, even if they never go to university, when they understand their role in society, that they can start a shop and they can be financially independent, they make better decisions for themselves. Now they're not desperate to end up getting married too young. They also can have conversations on how many children make sense for the family, and that is really where wealth creation starts. In our continent. So I like what you're saying. And then on the board, of course, that is good because usually there's that diversity of thought. Diversity isn't just that in a boardroom you have someone with a legal background, a finance background, whatever. It's also the woman will remember the other women in the corporation, private or public sector. And I like that, as I've seen more and more in the African continent, we have African presidents now, we have many in the cabinet, and I'm just all for women too. That is my vibe.
But I'm not saying that women are taking over. Just to be correct, I keep saying it's balanced.
It's
we
balanced.
Need both men and women. And so I'm always even talking to men, be allies for these women. Because on that decision-making table, we need all of us. Right?
No, we definitely did. Not
so
to
even
take
though I
over.
champion for women, a lot of people are like, you're all about, I'm like, but I'm not saying that. So even in my company, who we work with, who we offer services to, we offer to women and men. But I'm just saying, don't forget the women.
Right. Yes, I got you. Yes, I like that. And you mentioned Regal Africa, which as I was preparing for this, I was on your IG page just looking. I'm like, oh my God, I love this. So tell us a little bit about Regal Africa. What is it about?
Wow. So
yeah,
Regal Africa,
yeah,
the company that I started back in 2015, with a vision of helping us all create wealth sustainably, right? And for me, I've always said, because I like being positive and not negative. So I keep saying, I'm not talking about eradicating poverty, which is the goal. Because for you to create wealth, you have to eradicate poverty. And I knew very well from history, the only sustainable way to eradicate poverty is through trade and investment.
Yes. Yes.
Africa has been subscribed aid. But I kept saying that is why we're still in poverty, most of us. The truth of the matter, unless we are trading with one another, unless we're investing in the productive industry, we'll continue staying poor. So Regal Africa was created specifically to then offer those solutions to businesses, institutions, governments, families, and say, what do you need? So for us as consultants was to say, how do I add value to your organization? How do I support you and your family to be able to make the right investment decisions so that we are all creating wealth? And that also comes in with the diaspora. Because what I learned when I was in the States, and you're making all this money and you're putting all your money in the States, because you don't have information about what's going on the continent. When I came back and I was on the ground and I saw what exactly was happening, I was like, why didn't anyone tell me? Why didn't anyone tell me? I would have made so much more money if I made the decisions to invest back home. But then the key here is making those right decisions. A lot of us in the diaspora, what do? You just buy plots. You're told to go and put money in a sack. And I'm like, that's kindergarten. That's kindergarten. Like, we need to elevate. I keep saying graduate, elevate, level up to the next level, because we know better. And as you know, we get more than $400 billion in Kenya only. Can you imagine the rest of Africa? So what I'm just saying is, Regal Africa was created specifically to support the growth of the African continent through trade and investments, because we believe that was the only sustainable way. So we offer advisory services, we do a lot of training, we actually even do events and publications. So what I also learned was, there's something in the Bible which always talks about, my people perish for lack of knowledge. For lack of vision. And that's the story of Africa, right? A lot of us lack information, whether because it was intentionally done, not to share with us that information, or we are not looking for that information, which is surprising for some of us who love to read.
I know,
I'm reading and learning, but that's just me. But a lot of people don't know. So for us, we recognize there are solutions out there, there are opportunities out there, but people don't know. So for us at Regal Africa was to put that, create platforms where people are aware around what is happening. So for example, every year we have the Africa Wealth Conference. So we bring in all the solution providers to talk about wealth, right?
Africa Wealth
family wealth, family businesses. We talk about creating wealth. We bring in the diaspora and speak about diaspora wealth.
Oh, nice.
So it is a wealth conference that really says, okay, whether you're starting, whether you are managing wealth, whether you're transferring wealth to the next generation, it doesn't matter what stage you are in this wealth creation journey, there are solutions, and we're telling you these are the experts. So we bring in experts from around the world, around Africa, and you can do that. So that's one thing that we do. The other platform we created was the Africa Trade Conference. Again, we realized for us, we're trying to tell people to invest. Then we recognize people can't invest, especially on the continent, because they don't have money.
So
how you're telling somebody to invest, and they don't have money.
Then they're over here, you're already ahead.
They're busy trying.
To just survive. Make ends meet.
Remember, we're from the diaspora. I'm from the diaspora. So we're already making money. So now it's telling people where to invest. Then I realized, oh my, Yes, we need to tell people where to invest, but before we do that, we need to tell people how to make money. And I always tell people, when we talk about trade, you're trading your time, whether you're an employee, you're trading goods or you're trading services.
Right.
So during the Africa Trade Conference, we talk about that. Opportunities in intra-Africa trade, opportunities in global trade. We talk about digital trade and women in trade. That is the future of the African continent. We need to trade with one another, and we need to be able to make money. You know, and I'll go back to the diaspora, because it's a diaspora thing. If, for example, you're in the US or in Europe, you understand a lot of the people who make money there, for example, the Jews. And they rotate their money in their community.
It stays in their community. Do business with each other.
Exactly.
Everything.
And we don't. We don't. So my goal and our goal as a team at Regal Africa is to change that. Is to make sure that we as Africans are doing more intra-Africa trade. And the part now that we are actually engaging with the diaspora is to say, we need you on board. Why? Because we've recognized on the continent, a lot of the trade that happens is we import everything. Everything foreign is good, everything African is not so good. So we are changing that. So part of the African Trade Conference, part of what we do is we identify great African products and great African brands. And now we are telling the diaspora, this is what you are consuming on the continent. This is what's good on the continent. Can you be the ambassadors wherever you are around the world and make people consume them? So now we are exporting African products and African brands to the world. That's what the Asians have done. That is what the Europeans have done. That is what the Latin Americans have done. And yet we as Africans are not doing it. So it's about time that we do it. So that is what we are championing in regards to international trade, making sure that African products are found all over the world. And people are consuming it. And it starts with you as the diaspora to be the champion of that. Find what's good in Africa and then be part of the distribution channel there. On the reverse side, we are saying, look, there are so many opportunities to invest on this continent. Diaspora, you have money. Where is that money going to? Seriously, where is that money going to? And the reason, please come for the conference, the Africa Trade Conference, the African
I'm about to
Conference.
ask you for the dates.
We are going to discuss more about that, but we recognize a lot of the money that comes from the diaspora comes and it's consumed. People are paying hospital bills instead of telling their family to get insurance. Like, we are not even informing our family. People are giving people money to buy food instead of investing in businesses. So that
enabling them.
So we've become it is important the diaspora send remittances, but what we're saying, can it be channeled in the right channels? And for us, we're saying, can we find the right investment opportunities? Which then the challenge to the diaspora, and I always tell them, is organize. You cannot come as one person and think you're going to transform the continent. You have to organize as a diaspora, and then when you organize together, you put in your money, right? Then we take that money and we put it in the right factories. We take that money, we put it in real estate. We take that money, we put it in infrastructure. We take that money and put it in the productive industries. That's how we transform Africa. So that is what we're doing. We're changing the minds of Africans, changing the minds of the diaspora, and saying, let's make money. Let's make money together. Let's create money for ourselves, for our families. Let's create generational wealth. And when we are doing that, then we transform the continent. So that's where we're on trade and investments.
Do you know, Anne, you actually, you give this energy. I'm about to go and get an offering basket and just start putting in my coins, because you've spoken a lot.
Coins or dollars?
Okay, dollars. I just said coins because that's how we used to call it. But yes, dollars, notes. Oh God, I'm in diaspora banking, and one of the things that we see is that diaspora invest back home in real estate, because that is what we've been told. I remember even when I was in the diaspora and apartments were more affordable than they are. My family always used to tell me, Grace, you need to buy an apartment. And every time there was an off plan coming up, I was being advised about it. And you're right, that is one way to do it.
Yes.
But there's so much more to do.
Yeah.
In the continent. There are so many other ways to continue investing, because at the end of the day, we also want income at retirement. We all want to create wealth, right?
Mm-hmm.
But sticking to just real estate is, as you said, is elementary. It's the beginning of things.
Yes.
If we as Africans or Kenyans come together and invest together, you'll even come back home sooner.
Yes.
You know, we stay in the diaspora because we are saving up, so when we come home, we are close to having enough for retirement.
Yes.
Many diaspora are not looking to come back home and be employed, be salaried. So imagine if we could invest through trade and investment,
Mm-hmm.
even our journey back home would be sooner, I think.
Yes.
I also know in diaspora, one of the challenges when it comes to investing back home is lack of reliable and accurate information. And I love how you've mentioned all those organizations, because it is so important for diaspora to know, who do I call? Many diaspora have relied on family members and relatives, and they've been conned. There was even an article just this week on the Nation newspaper about someone that has been getting money from the diaspora, and they think they've been investing in real estate, but they haven't. And I'll post that article just to, to elaborate what we're talking about here. So there's family and friends. There are also service providers that diaspora don't know about, or they think they're reliable, and then they end up dropping the ball. I'm sure we all know about the Suraya investments and things like that. So imagine having organizations like this and attending conferences like the one that Anne is talking about. So even before you put your money down, you attend the conference, you see for yourself, you do your due diligence, and then you're able to then decide, I still want to do real estate. After you have enough information and you make an informed decision, I still want to stay in real estate. Or you can consider trade and investment. I also like what you've said about trade and investment, because truly in a place like Kenya, the percentage of salaried people is very small.
Yes.
Majority of people are entrepreneurs, and even to them, even if they're local, because we also talk about diaspora when they return back home, what it's like. It's knowing that there's this option, because many of us try and get into employment here, and there's another whole reverse culture shock right there that we will talk about in another episode. So if that doesn't work for you, there's an option to get into trade and investment. And I also like how you've talked about remittances are good. We want remittances. Yes. Again, I'm in banking and we want those dollars. They actually even make it easier for us to sell to the locals who are looking to invest or buy goods from abroad. But being able to send the remittance and empowering that person. So if it is someone who you usually send money back home for rent, have that conversation about how can we make sure in 3, 6, 12 months that I'm not paying rent, but I'm teaching you how to do it on yourself. There's the giving the fish, and then there's the teaching how to fish.
Correct.
That. So I really like what you're talking about that. And I hope, do you already have some dates set for the conferences or?
Yes.
Okay.
So every July, the Africa Wealth Conference is every July.
Okay.
But I believe it's July 5th and 6th.
Okay.
But please check out africawealthconference.com or regalafrica.co.ke, and we'll continue to be sharing with us. We'll share with you all of that.
Yeah.
So every July, the Africa Wealth Conference.
Okay.
The Africa Trade Conference is every November.
All right.
Right? So they are set. We have the conferences, great speakers, a lot of capacity building, information sharing, connections, networks, because you cannot do business with people you don't know.
You can't.
You cannot do business with people you do not trust. You have to get the information. And so we've created this platform so that people are engaging, learning, and doing that. The other thing I do have to say for those, because we've been doing this for the last 2 years in regards to the conferences. Really inspired by COVID.
Yes.
Because during COVID we were getting requests for all this information globally, and we had to find a way to do it. So we do either virtual or hybrid conferences, so that everyone around the world can engage. So you can always even go to our YouTube channel, Regal Africa TV, and you can see past episodes, panel discussions, keynote speeches. I mean, all that is there. And please subscribe.
Yes.
Right? Yes. And just get this information and then discuss it with family and friends, which is very important. So remember, every July Africa Wealth Conference, every November Africa Trade Conference.
Cool. And we'll also share all that information on our social media pages at Kenyan_Diaspora_returnee. For the July event, for those who are willing to travel, where is it being held?
It will be held here in Nairobi, Kenya.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So far, everything has been held in Nairobi, Kenya. Okay. But the goal is to get people to travel.
Yes.
Travel around Africa. I mean, Africa is amazing. I love to travel.
Yes.
I love, the way you're talking about, even in the States, you're always traveling and traveling globally. And the idea of coming to Africa is so, there are parts of the world that really appreciate Africa, especially Europeans. During the winter season, they come. But the rest of the world, if you're to be asked, where is the best place to explore? Africa won't really come to mind. Or if they do, for example, coming to Kenya, it's the safari and they come once in their lifetime. They don't keep coming back. And yet there are very many interesting places. I do have to tell people, because I love to travel, you can always go to my IG and Gaitha, and I'm always traveling, and my tagline is "This is Africa." So I showcase people. Like last year, of course, I was in Cape Town, I was in the Maldives, I was in Zanzibar, I was all over in Kenya, and I'm just showcasing. Maldives is not in Africa,
I know, but still,
I was traveling. But when I travel in Africa, I like to showcase those beautiful spots that people don't normally go to. And we are changing the narrative to say Africa is not about poverty, famine.
It's not.
And disease.
It's not.
They are there, but what we are saying is they're beautiful places in Africa. And if you come and trade and invest in Africa and travel in Africa, you will see that. You will do business in Africa, you will invest in Africa, and then transform Africa, because we eradicate poverty. And those things that are associated with Africa will be eliminated. So you making that decision to travel to Africa makes a difference.
It does, and I want to build on that, but before I forget, let me ask, the November conference, where is that being held? Also in Nairobi?
Also in Nairobi, Kenya, but the goal was the first 3 years to do that. In Nairobi, Kenya. And then after that, we actually have been getting people in South Africa who want us to go, in Nigeria, and our goal, like I said, is to get people to travel across the continent and see the beauty
that is there. And now going to the travel, and we were talking about trade and investment, what I learned with my friends that we were traveling with, actually it's a friend of mine called Richard, and he runs Haitian Nomad Trips. When we started traveling, he's very intentional about, when you go, let's promote the local. So oftentimes, some of us are bougie, or we want 5-star service. There's a way we wouldn't want to sleep. But no matter what, take time to promote that local person. If you can go to a mom and pop shop to have a meal, that local meal sometimes even tastes so much better than a 5-star restaurant. Just promoting. And trade and investment, there's tourism in trade and investment. And so I like what you're saying, is that you also have an intention and a plan to go through Africa. I have also traveled here. I've been to South Africa, I've been to TZ, Zanzibar, Rwanda, even DRC. You guys, it is beautiful, and there is beauty in the continent. Come see it for yourself, and then when you do, let the others know, because it is true. For the longest time, what the media showed about Africa was poverty and disease, and then you come back home and you realize how beautiful it is. So you even talked about what you expected when you came home hasn't fully materialized, but you still say that you love home, because there's a beauty here that you just don't get when you're in the diaspora, in the Western world, let's say that, because diaspora can also be a Kenyan
if
in
you
another
have
African
money
country.
in
Yes.
Kenya, if you have money in Africa, you are not going to leave.
You are not going
to. So what
to
we're just saying, we're putting money in the hands of us wanted on the continent,
yes,
and we are not going to leave.
Yes.
The reason we leave, I always say we are like sort of economic refugees.
Because
you're not leaving because you just have to go where the money
is. That
and
is
the money
true.
has always been outside the continent. That's why we export our labor, especially us as Kenyans. We are.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Our human resource is amazing. That's why we're all over the world.
Yeah.
Even places like Nigeria and South Africa, very educated people, very hands-on, hardworking people. So we get to go out to the first world or to the Western world and give our services, but we get paid for the money that we present.
It's true.
Now, many of us would want to come back, but if we come back, we don't make the same amount of money, or we are not as valued as much.
Yes.
So we stay there right?
Longer.
And I'm hoping that particular thing changes. But there's beauty here in our people, in all of that. If we have money here, living the good life.
I know.
But until you have it, it's a struggle.
It's a struggle.
Which is the reality. It is a struggle being on the continent if you do not have the right, if you don't have the financial resources. So our goal is to help change that. Myself particularly also. Like,
I know,
can we make that money?
Right. Besha. Exactly. So how else can African diaspora or Kenyan diaspora invest back home effectively, other than trade and investment? Are there any other investment products that maybe we can mention to them? Even anything that you do with fund managers, and how can they get that information?
Let me just start with what Ali you mentioned, and sometimes when I talk about graduating, leveling up from plots and circles, people feel a certain kind of way, right? And for all of you who probably are not from Kenya, plots just mean you're buying land, but it's a small piece of land, less than an acre, it's being divided. And people usually just buy that piece of land either for speculation purposes. Sometimes maybe the goal is to eventually build there. But a lot of people buy those little small pieces of
an eighth.
It's actually like an eighth of an acre. And even less now.
Even less, or the 50 by 100.
They're doing less and less. So that's, I always tell people, is the beginning. But before even I go into the investments, I always tell people, for sure, the first people that you want to engage with is your family. But you have to know your family. Right?
Yes.
I tell people, family is the beginning. But if you know your family doesn't have the right information, if you know you can't trust your family, then just don't go there. Right? Because then you're going to destroy even what little relationship you have. Family is all about relationship. So if you know your family doesn't have the right information, or because of the situation that they are in, if you send them money, they won't do what is expected of them, then just don't go there. So for me, I believe that the way the diaspora should be engaging when it comes to trade and investment is to engage with professionals, which means if you're engaging with a professional, you have to pay. Cheap is expensive. That is why the diaspora fail, because they're going in with what they consider free or cheap, which is family and friends, and then they lose a lot of money. So engage with professionals, engage with lawyers, engage with wealth advisors like ourselves, because we do the work, we do the due diligence, we work the numbers to make sure that this is our right investment. So we do a lot of work, and you pay us for that. If you don't want to pay, you make the decision yourself. And like I said,
cheap is expensive.
So starting off, again, start off with your family. Starting off, I always say, I told you I studied real estate. So real estate is dear to my heart, and it is a trusted asset class. So you want to get into real estate, but the right kind of real estate. Don't just buy things because the influencer is telling you to buy. The influencer has been paid to tell you to buy. They have their millions of shillings in their bank account, and then you might lose if it's the wrong investment. So you need to do the work, you need to do your due diligence, and because you're not on the continent, then you have to work with a professional to do that. And please be ready to pay money for that. So start the real estate is there, right? Which is true and tested. But I always say, because you are in the diaspora and you're not hands-on, then there are various ways. Please come for a conference and learn more, but I'll just sort of say a few things. One, I tell people you want to work with professional money managers. These are people who are licensed by the regulatory body in that particular country. So for example, in Kenya, we have what we call the Capital Markets Authority. They regulate the fund managers who are able to take your money and invest them in the right spaces. So actually, when I left Bank of America and I came to Kenya, I was in the asset management space. So what we did is we took your money, somebody else's money, collectively we invested in the right places, because our day-to-day decision making is based on numbers, on future trends that we know, on management. We make decisions professionally, so it's not out of emotion. So that is what you want to do. So the first thing is, can you work with licensed fund managers, because there's some kind of security there, because they're regulated. And then now you can start investing simple things like the unit trust, into money market funds, into equity funds, into what we call bond funds. Maybe I'm being a bit technical here, but I'm just saying, work with professional fund managers, because that is what they do day in, day in, out. And because you're not on the ground, can you find someone that is trusted who can help you that? At Regal Africa, we work with 8 licensed fund managers. We've done the due diligence on them. We've been following up what returns that they have over the years. So we only work with people who are consistent and have a track record in regards to their investment. Those are who we then work with. So it is a free service that we do. So when you want to invest, just fill out a form where we understand, how much money you're looking to invest, your risk tolerance, your time horizon, just basically what your goals are. Because even if you have $10,000 US dollars and someone has 10,000 US dollars, because what you want is different, we'll recommend different things, right? So we are very specific on the individual, and then we facilitate to open up the accounts for free. So that is sort of the first step that we do. Also, people who are interested in real estate, and I do have to say this, a lot of us have invested directly. You know what you're saying, where someone tells you, buy an apartment, buy land, or buy an apartment complex, but you're not here. So property management is also an issue. You can hire a property manager, who I recommend, but sometimes they might not be honest, right? So another way around that is to find yourself investing in real estate, but maybe indirectly. One of the things you need to be looking out for is something called a REIT. R-E-I-T-S, right? Real Estate Investment Trust. Basically, you're investing in real estate, a part of the real estate, but they're professional people who are managing that. We have the investment managers, we have the property managers, and this gets you to invest in the opportunities that you, maybe as a diaspora, can you do it yourself. For example, because of the youth bulge in Africa, there's this big need for student housing. Now try building your own hostel
and collecting rent from students.
I mean, it's challenging, right? So now there are people who actually have REITs who are very specific on student housing. So your job is to put money there, and then you collect rent every 6 months, because they give you a dividend every 6 months. So what we're telling the diaspora is, you don't have to do it yourself. There are other ways around it, especially for us at Regal Africa, where we talk about managing your investment portfolio. Maybe you have a piece of land here, maybe you have an apartment, maybe an apartment block, but then now you have the REIT. So there are different ways of, then you have the unit trust. Another big thing besides real estate, like I'm saying, or working with professional money managers, one of the things we've been engaging with the diaspora is to be what we call angel investors. In Africa, unfortunately, we do not have that culture of being angel investors.
And actually, even a lot of the startups that are even successful in Kenya, the angel investors are not Africans. It's foreigners that are coming here and investing in fintechs and things like that. Yes. Yeah.
Just to say fintech, right? So for example, you're in the financial service industry in the US or in Europe or in Asia or the Middle East or whatever, you know the opportunity on the African continent. You're working. You cannot do that work yourself, right?
Yes.
You can identify a company, a startup who is finding solutions, whether it's in payments, whether it's in credit, whether it's in robo-advisory, things of that nature. And then what we are hoping the African diaspora can do is then, after doing your due diligence, looking at the opportunity, putting your money into that business. So instead of you doing the business yourself, you're working with partners on the ground who are going to do the operation of that business. Your job is to be that investor with the ultimate goal of exiting out, right? Yes. And making your money. Yeah. Whether you do it as debt, meaning that you give them the money and then they pay you back, or you come in as an equity investor. The challenge of Africa is really the startup. Yes. Right? Yes. The startup capital, which for a lot of us in the diaspora, like for me, when I started my business, it's because I'd been saving for many years. Right. So when I started my business, I took my savings and put it in. But in Africa, a lot of us are not employed. So even the idea of someone having savings to put into their business is difficult. But they have these great ideas and there's a lot of opportunity. So why don't you become the capital provider? Yes. Also being the knowledge provider, also being the network provider. Yes. So then you find you're able to help these young Africans to actualize the opportunity. Yes. So being an angel investor is something that we're encouraging a lot of the diaspora to do. Yes. It is risky. Yes. It is risky. No, it is risky, but all startups are risky. Exactly. And I know in Kenya some startups have even taken 7 years, not they usually think in 3 years it will be good. Yeah. So also plan. Yes. And you remember when you're investing back home, you've already taken care of yourself in the diaspora. Yes. So in the diaspora, you're able to already make your ends meet there. You've managed whatever your emergency savings are. You've invested maybe in a mortgage, and now this is that other investment you're doing. And it was what we were talking about, elevating and graduating. Exactly. So yes, it's money that you are willing to put aside. Yes. And God forbid you lose it, you would still be okay. Exactly. Yeah. And that is very, very important, because a lot of the diaspora think that when I talk to them, they're like, oh, so I take all my money and bring it back. And I'm like, no, you have to be wise when you're making investment decisions. So where you are, make sure you're investing, because that's your home. Yes. That's your home, right? Yes. So make sure you have that. But instead of putting, because I was working at the bank, instead of putting your money there, getting very little, or maybe putting it in the stock market, and maybe you're not the best person who understands that market, or in this other funny thing, like, anyway, let me not even go there about those funny investments. Yeah. Take a portion of your investment portfolio. I always tell people, when you're thinking offshore, at least 30% or maximum of 30%. Take that extra money, and that money will go a long way. As you say, is money that you're willing to lose, but money that can make you a lot of money. Because remember, you're thinking in the future. We're not talking trading here. We're talking about investment. So investments is long term. So you're saying, I'll take this money and I'll put it back home to give me a long it's a long-term investment that will give me a great return. Yes. Because maybe one day I want to come back home or not, right? But I'll be making money. And the beauty about it is you'll make money, but you'll be transforming lives on the continent. Yes. So it's double. Yes. You make money and you create impact. Yes. And that is what I want the diaspora to understand. It's not only about making money. No, it's not also about transforming lives, you know, and because at the end of the day, we're still Africans, and many of us still have a connection to home. Even if we decide to stay in the diaspora, we still visit, right? We come here for holidays, or they come here for holidays. Look at me saying we, and I'm a returnee, but you know, you still return home, and you want the continent to continue improving. You don't want to be left behind. Yes. So that's what that is. Yes. Yes. So I said a few things, but for me, I think where we'll see the greatest impact in the diaspora is if the diaspora organizes. If you keep coming by yourself, I keep saying that kiosk mentality. Sorry, if you're Kenyan, you'll understand what I'm saying.
Yes.
That small kiosk mentality we have is what is holding us behind.
It is.
Right?
You know, yes.
Maybe because I was in the industry. If you see a lot of the American companies, it's the pension funds that are coming into the continent, investing in our stock market, investing in infrastructure, investing in these big projects.
Yeah.
This is foreign money. But the diaspora have not organized themselves enough to now say, let's put this money together and let's go and do this.
Yeah.
Let's go. There's a big need for healthcare in this country.
Yes.
Whether it not maybe the hospitals, maybe it's equipment, maybe it's medicine. Those are things that people can be doing here.
Yeah.
But if you think you're gonna do it alone, it's not gonna happen. So can the diaspora come together, get their money, start a factory that manufactures some generic drug or something?
Yes.
I'm just saying we need to start thinking differently because we know better.
We know better.
We've been exposed.
Yes.
So we know that one, opportunity is there, but I always tell people invest the African way, which is collective.
Right.
Collectively.
That
African
spirit,
way.
the African
way. The African way.
Yes.
We lost it.
Yes.
We lost it.
We did.
But we have to get it back. But this time you're doing it better.
Yes.
And that means trusting one another.
Yes.
Doing things the right way.
Yes.
Integrity is key.
It is. Yeah.
And the only way I think we can do that is working with professionals because any other person, you're talking about fraud happening. Somebody just decides they're opening up a company and they start selling you land.
Or so you
and
think
they don't own the
they
land.
don't own the land.
And you've given them the money and it's gone. Your hard-earned money is gone, which is so painful. So we need to do things differently. So organize and work with professionals.
And you know, just to even reiterate what you're saying about organizing, when you've been in the diaspora, there's a way your mind just shifts. I mean, your eyes just open, your experiences there are valuable here. So you organize, and as you're investing back home and you're together, because you know, you also hang out with like-minded people. So you all come together and you come and invest back home, sit on the boardrooms. You know, angel investing also involves asking what the business person is doing, how they plan on using the money. So this is where, as you say, Africa can do better and you want to see better, you start contributing to it that way.
Yes.
You know, as we're wrapping up, generational wealth is so big too. And this is how we start. You empower each other and then you leave it for the generations that are coming behind us. So I think it's very amazing. Is there anything else that you would like us to discuss as we finish?
I want to just focus on what you just talked about, generational wealth, because that's true and dear to my heart. Because I always tell people, why are you working hard for if not for your children? Like, what are you doing? Right? And I also really believe in legacy, right? That when you leave this world, what are you going to leave behind? Right?
What is your
and
legacy?
We want to do it the right way. So for me, when we talk about generational wealth at Recall Africa, we're really saying we want people to invest as families, we want people to invest as community, and then nations, right? Which ultimately is African nations, creating generational wealth. I'm Christian, so in the Bible it talks about making sure that you're leaving an inheritance for 4 generations, right? So again, I use those principles to say, whatever I do, I'm going to leave it for 4 generations to come back. But what we're going to do differently is you're not going to leave that inheritance, whether it's financial inheritance or social capital or whatever, you're not going to leave it to entitled children. You want to make sure that you've trained your children to understand hard work, so they're building on what they left. Unfortunately, what I have seen is you have a lot of parents who've amassed all this wealth and their children don't know any better, so they leave it to their children, and that generation just...
And a lot of businesses are like that. The ones that were started by grandparents, by the time it's us, the businesses have not gone well. Most of them have failed, and I see that even in our corporate banking space. So you're right.
Yes, so we have to do things. So at Regal Africa, we talk about family wealth, family business, and family legacy.
Yeah.
It's about the family, and we need continuation, we need succession planning. We need to be building on generational wealth, because it's unfortunate that a lot of us as Africans, and I would say Black people around the world, for some reason, our culture has shown us to start from scratch.
Yes.
We're always starting from the very beginning.
Yes.
And by the time
it goes down,
you get old, your children are starting from the beginning. Why? Because we're not thinking generational.
Yeah.
It's about time that we did.
Yeah.
And this was very clear for me when I was working for Bank of America in LA. I was dealing with the wealthy people. These people, I was going to say panga.
Yeah.
Panga their children. What I'm just saying is they're very intentional with their children. Whether it is their first house and giving them a down payment to start. Right? Whether it's their first job through their network. So these people have that. Whether it's a trust fund for so they were very intentional to make sure that they set them up right. Now what you do with it after that's on you. But me as a parent, I did what was right for you. And I think that is something that we need to take back, because I always talk about the African way and our ancestors. It was always about the next generation.
Yes.
We lost it somehow. We became very individual.
Yes.
I don't know why, but I think for the diaspora, you need to start saying, how do I do generational wealth? And because you're probably in two spaces, right? Where now you're residing, that's your new home, but also don't forget where you came from, right?
Yes.
Can you balance those two worlds? Can you invest where you are, but because you can make more money and more transformation on the African continent, can you put money here, please?
Right. We need them money,
them
dollars.
Money, girl.
Yes. You know, and it's true, because I worked in the ultra high net worth space at Bank of America. The department used to be called, or still called, Global Wealth and Investment Management.
Yes.
And it is true. Most of the lending we did was to parents buying the first house for their children who are newly married.
Yes.
It was to set them up. And, you know, it makes a difference, because even the interest rates they would get were better than the ones that their kids would have gotten if they would have gone to get a mortgage for the first time. And you see them doing this over and over again. You set them up. Even the idea of setting up trust accounts, so that also your money is used wisely, you know, when your time to leave this earth comes. So there's so much that we can talk about when it comes to investments, and I think I may have to bring you on again. So thank you for coming. On my end, there's something that Anne has said that I really want to emphasize. Please do your due diligence when you're investing back home. Use trusted service providers, and these people should be licensed. There are agencies that are regulated, so make sure that you are confirming that they're regulated. Please do it. Even organizations here do it. I'm in banking, and I can tell you, before we bring on a lawyer, before we bring on a property manager, a quantity surveyor for construction, we do thorough due diligence on them, and not just when we are onboarding them, but even on an annual basis. And even after all that, and we are on the ground, we still get professional indemnity from them. So do the same. Using family and friends can be good, but as Anne also said, they're not all experienced. In fact, your vision sometimes is, you know, like if you wanted to build a home that is almost like a cabin home, the way you're thinking about it is so different than the person on the ground. They've never seen that thing. So you find that you're investing, you come home, you're disappointed in it. Or the return on investment isn't as expected. Please do your due diligence, but trust in the service providers as long as you've done your due diligence, and pay them fairly. Even paying them fairly is part of building wealth in Africa, because now you're not constricting that business person who then ends up taking shortcuts. So, you know, it becomes a ripple down effect. There's a lot that can be said about this. I may just have to bring Anne, but we thank you so much for listening, and we hope you have a great day, afternoon, or evening.